5 hotel homicides that remain unsolved. Whether on a business trip or a pleasurable vacation, staying in hotels or motels provide a comfy feeling of being at home, away from home. There are instances, however, wherein they become the unexpected sites of cold-blooded murders. Unfortunately, some crimes remain unsolved, like the following homicide cases. If only the 4 corners of the hotel room could talk. Number 5, Amana Holiday Inn, Rose Burkhardt and Roger Atkinson. Clandestine lovers Roger Atkinson and Rose Burkhardt got lucky on the night of September 12, 1980. They booked the last room at Iowa's Amana Holiday Inn despite the inn's hosting of the Morticians Conference. It could have been a romantic tryst for the single mom and the married telephone repairman installer who had a room service delivery after checking in at 7:40 p.m. But it became their unluckiest night ever as they were found dead the following morning. The housekeeper was shocked at the scene she found in room 260. Blood was splattered everywhere. Roger and Rose were lying face down in the bed with their heads battered by repeated strikes of an axe or hatchet, while Roger's fingers were severed. Soap bits littering the floor were used to write the word "this" on the bathroom mirror. But who committed these grisly murders? Was it Rose's ex-boyfriend? Was it Roger's brother-in-law, who was a notorious serial killer? Or was it the bartender Rose had an argument with the night before? Over 400 people were questioned, but the cold case still remains a big mystery today. Number 4, Starlight Motel, Linda Mayfield. Linda Mayfield was too young at 21 to die brutally on April 9, 1982, which has remained the coldest case in Council Bluffs, Iowa for 38 years now. Mayfield was found a little past 2 a.m. in the old Starlight Motel, fighting for her life due to several stab wounds on her face, chest, stomach, and limbs. A surgery at the Mercy Hospital tried to save her, but to no avail. Council Bluffs police sergeant suspected that Mayfield was a prostitute, and her killer was soliciting her services that night. One of the witnesses interviewed was Mayfield's friend, who described the alleged criminal as a white man, around 26 to 28 years old, standing between 5'7" and 5'10". Other witnesses thought the attacker was around 38 years old, drove a red Ford Mustang, and identified him as Chris. While the authorities had lots of information at their disposal, Mayfield's homicide case is still unsolved, and in many ways, forgotten as well. Number 3, Racecourse Hotel, Donald Fraser. The close-range shooting that led to Donald Fraser's death in 1933 was one of the most mysterious murders in the history of New Zealand. And it happened at the Racecourse Hotel in Christchurch City, which Fraser owned and managed. After a night of drinking with their hotel guests on November 16, 1933, Donald and his wife Elizabeth retired to their upstairs bedroom. A few moments later, Donald was shot twice in the chest at close range with a double-barreled shotgun while asleep in bed next to Elizabeth. The killer was never caught, but the slugs that killed the publican were traced to the West Coast. Donald was reputed to be temperamental and aggressive towards men when he drank. He also bullied his staff, customers, and hotel patrons, but despite these, the hotel was making lots of money. As the murder investigation progressed, it became clear that Donald had made enemies, usually through his hasty temper and violence. Several of them were interviewed, but none was believed to be the murderer. Racecourse Hotel still stands, adorned with pictures of the Fraser couple and newspaper clippings of the murder. But they are also reminders that justice has been elusive for 86 years now. Number 2, Golden Key Motel. Behind the blinding lights of Atlantic City in New Jersey lies a dim secret of homicide and prostitution at the Golden Key Motel. Before drugs took hold of their lives, the 4 sex workers killed in November 2006 were mothers and daughters full of dreams. The lifeless bodies of Kim Raffo, Molly Diltz, Barbara Bredor, and Tracy Roberts were found dumped into a drainage ditch behind the Golden Key Motel situated on a road called the Black Horse Pike. They were barefoot with their heads facing east toward the casinos just a few hundred yards away. Investigation revealed that Raffo and Roberts died of strangling, while Diltz and Bredor were so badly decomposed that their reason for deaths weren't easily determined. It is believed that their killings transpired over 5 weeks, but as to who was accountable remains unanswered more than a decade later. 2 primary suspects were apprehended, with one of them submitting to a DNA test, but no scientific match was made. No charges have been filed, but the authorities vow to keep pursuing the cases. Number 1. Sawmill River Motel, John Weaver and Kirsten Prapanpanj. The 23-year-old double homicide case that took the lives of John Weaver and Kirsten Prapanpanj has no disclosure yet, according to Elmsford, New York Mayor Robert Williams. But sometimes you hit a dead end, he added. Weaver and Prapanpanj were clerks at Sawmill River Motel who were shot dead during a robbery in broad daylight on September 5, 1995. On that day, Prapanpanj was the clerk on duty, while Weaver just dropped by to pick up his paycheck. Out of the blue, Weaver was shot dead on the spot, while Prapanpanj took 2 shots to the head and lingered in a coma for 5 days before succumbing to death. There were neither witnesses nor fingerprints, and the culprit took off with $400, so the motive was determined as a burglary. 6 months later, the weapon used in the shooting, a Raver .25 caliber handgun, was recovered in Central Park, which was also used to kill an East Village restaurant owner. Despite this big lead, sadly, nothing concrete can nail the killer. If you enjoyed this video, then please subscribe to our channel for your daily fix of awesome infotainment.